How can we live a happier life? How can our hearts remain at peace amid constant change? That is the question humanity has carried for thousands of years, from ancient empires to the modern age. We often believe that to be happy, we must change our circumstances, other people, or outcomes. Yet the more we try to control everything, the more powerless we feel. Because peace doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering ourselves. And in history, there once lived a man who embodied that truth completely. His name was Epictetus, born a slave, unable to choose where he came from. But he chose how to live his life, without resentment when deprived, and without surrender in the face of pain. He understood that it is not events themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those events. Today, we are no longer imprisoned by visible chains, yet we remain bound by invisible ones. The judgment of others, endless expectations, and the fear of losing what we have. These threads weave through our minds, making us forget that peace does not come from changing the world, but from changing how we see it. Today, let us explore 15 Stoic principles, timeless gems of wisdom that have helped humanity find true happiness for thousands of years, and may also help you rediscover what is most precious in this life. A peaceful mind, a loving heart, and a life truly worth living. Number 1. Amor fati. Love your fate. Everyone wishes for an easy life, where everything unfolds according to plan. Yet somehow, life always finds a way to test us. Unfinished dreams, people who leave, losses that come without warning. And when those moments arrive, our natural reaction is to complain, to blame, or to ask, why me? But Stoic philosophy teaches us a different way to see it. Amor fati. Love your fate. Not just accept it, but love it. Because the very things we don't wish for often become the fuel for our growth. Amor fati doesn't ask you to pretend to be happy in suffering. It teaches you to see the meaning hidden within it. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what is it trying to teach me? Because every event, no matter how small, has a reason for appearing. As if life itself is shaping, molding, and refining you to become a stronger, deeper version of who you are meant to be. Number 2. Master what you can control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Some things are within our power, and some are not." That is the foundation of all Stoic thought, and the root of inner peace. Life constantly tests us with things beyond our reach, other people's opinions, the weather, outcomes, and fortune. And the more we try to control them, the more we lose control of ourselves. Imagine steering a ship across the ocean. You cannot command the wind to change, but you can adjust your sails and hold the rudder steady so the ship keeps moving forward. That's how the Stoics live. They don't seek to change the world. They focus on changing their response to it. Instead of worrying, they act. Instead of complaining, they adapt. When we stop forcing the world to bend to our will, peace quietly returns. None of us can make everyone love or understand us, but we can choose to live in a way that keeps our hearts open, where kindness still has a home and goodness isn't dimmed by bitterness. That is true freedom, not because the storms outside have calmed, but because we've learned how to keep our hands steady on the wheel amid the waves of life. Number 3. Memento mori. Remember the finiteness of life. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. It may sound somber, but it's not a warning about death. It's an invitation to awaken to life. The Stoics reminded themselves of this truth not to live in fear, but to cherish every moment of existence. When we realize our time is limited, each day becomes more precious. An ordinary morning suddenly feels meaningful. A hug, a thank you, a sincere glance, all become remarkably valuable. And we stop postponing life. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to be happy. Memento mori doesn't make us pessimistic. It makes us live with purpose. Because if today were your last day, you would choose to love more deeply, to express gratitude sooner, and to forgive more easily. Death, after all, is not life's enemy. It is a silent teacher, reminding us that everything is fragile, and precisely because of that, every second is sacred. Those who dare to face the limits of their existence are the ones who truly live fully in every moment. For in the end, it's not the length of life that defines its value, but the depth of how we live each day. Number 4, self-discipline. Everyone longs for freedom, yet paradoxically, it's indulgence that makes us slaves to our emotions, our habits, and our temptations. Discipline, the very thing so many fear, is in fact the only path to true freedom. The Stoics understood that those who cannot govern themselves will be governed by the world. Discipline is not about force. It's the deliberate act of someone who knows exactly who they want to become. It's like climbing a mountain. The higher you go, the stronger the wind. But the view at the top is always worth it for those who persist. The disciplined are not tireless. They simply understand that certain rewards can only be earned by crossing the boundary of comfort. Every morning you wake a little earlier, every time you choose silence over reaction, every promise you keep to yourself, you're forging your will, shaping a stronger version of who you are. Discipline doesn't kill joy. It awakens a deeper kind of joy, the joy of self-mastery. When you learn to control your actions instead of being driven by emotions, you become truly free, not because everything goes your way, but because you've discovered the strength to steer your own life. Number 5, live simply. In today's world, we often crave more opportunities, more connections, more ambitions. But the more we want, the more exhausted we become. Excess doesn't just fill our time, it clutters our minds. The Stoics chose the opposite path, to want less to gain more. Our minds are like rooms. When you fill them with too much furniture, there's no space left for light to enter. But when you clear out the old and unnecessary, the room becomes airy, and the light naturally finds its way in. Life works the same way. When we stop consuming what we don't need, we begin to see what truly matters. Living simply isn't about giving up. It's about choosing to live with intention, so that everything we keep has meaning. When we dare to let go, the mind becomes lighter, and in that lightness, we rediscover the peace that has always been there, just buried beneath the excess. Number 6, adapting to change. Nothing in life ever stands still. Not even ourselves. Everything is in motion, changing quietly or violently. The more we cling, the more we're swept away. The Stoics understood that true strength doesn't come from rigidity, but from the ability to adapt, to survive, and to grow. Change is not the enemy. It is the very nature of all things. Spring passes, people evolve, and we ourselves are different each day. Flexibility is not weakness, it is wisdom, knowing when to move forward and when to step back. A bamboo survives the storm, not because it's stronger than the wind, but because it climbs up to let the wind pass. And when the sky clears, it stands tall again. If you look back, you'll realize that the very changes that once frightened you are what brought you to a better place. Adaptability is the art of transforming adversity into resilience. The quiet strength that helps you stay grounded amid life's constant change. Number 7, turn knowledge into action. We live in an age of information, a time when everyone knows so much, yet so few truly act. The Stoics believe that knowledge has value only when applied, not when collected. Reading a book about calmness won't make you calm. Only practicing it in moments of anger will. Knowledge without action is like holding a map and never taking a step. The world doesn't change because we know. It changes because we act. Every action, no matter how small, carries a power of transformation that 1,000 words never will. The Stoics didn't just speak of strength, they lived it in every choice. In how they stayed calm when insulted, in how they stood back up after being hurt, and in how they remained true to their principles. Because in the end, it's not knowledge that changes a person, it's action. Number 8. Resilience. Rising after adversity sometimes feel like a storm, sweeping away everything we thought we couldn't live without. But the miracle is this. Only after the storm passes do we realize what truly matters and discover the hidden strength we never knew we had. The Stoics never wished for an easy life. They wished for the strength to endure a difficult one. They understood that willpower, like muscle, grows only through resistance. Every loss, every failure, every hardship is a lesson life sends to forge us into something greater. Seneca once wrote, "No wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where he is going." And sometimes, it's the headwinds themselves that shape who we become. Remember, true strength is not in never falling, but in rising every time we do. When we accept adversity as a natural part of life, we don't just survive it. We emerge from it with calmness and clarity. Number 9. Be grateful. Happiness doesn't come only when everything becomes perfect. It comes when we are grateful for what we already have, even the smallest things. The Stoics viewed life not through the lens of scarcity, but through gratitude. They understood that as long as you can wake up, breathe, and have another chance to make things right, life has already given you a gift. Gratitude is not just a fleeting feeling. It's a way of seeing the world. When we practice gratitude, the mind naturally shifts from lack to abundance, from demand to appreciation. A warm cup of tea, a quiet afternoon, or a friend who listens, all become precious once we pause to truly feel them. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Take a moment and ask yourself, what do I already have? When you focus on that, you'll realize that happiness was never far away. It was simply buried beneath what you thought was missing. When gratitude becomes a habit, life feels lighter, gentler, and more meaningful, even on the darkest days. Number 10. Be patient. In a world that constantly urges us to move faster, the Stoics chose to slow down. They understood that everything meaningful takes time. A seed cannot bloom overnight, and a person needs time to grow. Patience doesn't mean waiting passively. It is the quiet trust that everything will unfold at its right time. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly. Even a bunch of grapes needs time to ripen." Because anything lasting must be given time to form. Rushing only makes us lose what truly matters along the way. Life is like a garden. You cannot force flowers to bloom sooner, but you can nurture them and wait for their time. Patience is not just waiting. It is a way of living, without discouragement, without complaint, without retreat. And once we understand that, we realize that slowing down doesn't mean losing anything. It's the only way to truly appreciate the beauty of every step along the journey. Number 11. Forgiveness. Free yourself by letting go. Some wounds don't live on the skin. They live in memory, where we store the pain, betrayal, and words left unspoken. Many believe that forgiveness is a gift for those who hurt us. But in truth, forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. The Stoics understood that anger and resentment are like holding a burning coal in your hand while wishing to throw it at someone else. Every time we revisit the past with pain, we reopen the wound within. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means recognizing that the past is closed and no longer allowing it to steer the direction of your present life. When you let go, your heart feels lighter and your steps become freer. Forgiveness doesn't weaken justice. It strengthens compassion. Because only those who are truly free within themselves are capable of genuine mercy. Number 12. Be kind. In a world where everyone strives to win or be right, kindness often feels like a luxury. But for the Stoics, it is a sign of true inner strength, because only those who are not ruled by judgment can be genuinely kind. Kindness doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes it's simply a gentle word instead of a harsh one, or a look of empathy instead of criticism. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Be strict with yourself and tolerant with others." For when we discipline ourselves to live rightly, yet forgive the faults of others, the world naturally becomes a softer place. When you choose kindness, you may not change the whole world, but you keep the light within your own world from dimming. And sometimes, that small act of compassion is enough to rekindle hope in someone else's fading heart. Number 13. Understanding yourself. On the journey to mastering life, the hardest thing is not understanding the world. It's understanding yourself. We spend much of our lives searching for what's right, what's wrong, and what's worth pursuing. Yet rarely do we stop to ask, who am I amidst all of this? The Stoics believe that self-awareness is the root of wisdom. Those who have never looked deeply within will always be led by the opinions of others. When you understand yourself, what makes you angry, what brings you joy, what makes you afraid, only then can you make choices that are truly your own. You no longer live to please others, but to live in alignment with your values and boundaries. To know yourself is not to close off, but to open up. To know when to move forward, when to pause, when to hold on, and when to let go. When you truly know who you are, you no longer need to compare, compete, or pretend to be strong. You simply live honestly and as yourself. Number 14. Inner peace. We often think peace comes when life becomes less turbulent. But the Stoics understood that true peace isn't found outside of us. It begins within. Life will always bring its storms, loss, misunderstanding, nameless fears. We cannot stop the world from trembling, but we can learn not to be shaken by it. The Stoics didn't run from chaos. They learned to stand firm in it, with a clear mind and a tranquil heart. Imagine your soul as a lake. When the wind blows, the surface ripples, yet the deeper you go, the calmer it becomes. Beneath all the noise, there is always a still layer waiting for you to return to, if only you pause, breathe, and listen to yourself. Peace is not a reward for those who avoid suffering. It is the state of those who understand that suffering is a natural part of life. It is cultivated through small, daily choices. Choosing silence over argument, observation over reaction, and light over bitterness. Inner peace doesn't come from doing less. It comes from wanting less. Less control, less judgment, less expectation. When that happens, you no longer need the world to be quiet, because you've already found a stillness within that nothing can disturb. Number 15. Become better every day. True happiness doesn't come from how much we have, but from who we are becoming with each passing day. The Stoics never sought a perfect life. They simply sought to live better than they did yesterday. Because every action, every thought, every reaction, no matter how small, shapes the world around us. When we live with reason, when we control our emotions, when we choose kindness even when others don't, we send a silent message to life itself. There is still good in this world. Becoming better doesn't have to start with something grand. Sometimes, it's found in staying calm during an argument, choosing forgiveness over resentment, or pausing to listen instead of judging. Each time we choose what is right over what is easy, the world around us becomes just a little gentler. For when our inner world changes, the outer world changes with it. And when more people live with awareness, compassion, and integrity, this world will no longer be something we must endure, but something we can help create together. In the end, a better life is not a life without suffering. It is a life where we learn to master ourselves, live by our values, and make the world around us a little better. There will always be things in life you cannot control, people who hurt you, moments that make you doubt yourself. But amid all that chaos, you always have the power to choose how you live. That is the spirit of Stoicism. No running away, no resentment, no anger. The Stoic does not avoid hardship. They learn to stay steady through change, to learn from adversity, and each day to choose to become just a little better, in thought, in action, and in how they face the world. Because a better life is not a perfect life. It is one where we learn to love even what is imperfect. A life that may not be loud, but is meaningful. Not easy, but truly worth living. And if these principles have touched even a small corner of your heart, let them stay, not just in your thoughts, but in your actions every day. Because the world becomes a better place when each of us learns to live better, understand more deeply, and love more generously. Thank you for walking with us until the end. If you wish to keep nurturing inner calm, strength, and wisdom, subscribe and continue this journey with us. The journey toward becoming the best version of yourself. And who knows, one day, your story may become the inspiration someone else needs.